Hi guys, it's Friday and I'm making my weekly video, and I actually have a couple things to really say today because um, something happened last night which has been affecting me a little bit, and I'll get into that in a second. And also, my birthday was the day before yesterday, and in the last couple of days, something kind of happened with my mother that brought up a lot of old anger, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit just because I always I always feel like I'm not still holding resentments and angers and stuff towards her, but then something like this happens. She says something in the background, and it affects me more deeply than it should, and it makes me wonder just how much, you know, our past still affects me, deep down. So basically, what happened was, um, my daughter, who was on the phone with me, and I had my daughter Estrella and Caleb on the phone with me on Snapchat, so it was all video chat. And my mom did not see me in the chat because it was the little window. And so Caleb was talking to me, and he turns the phone on her. And before she realizes that I'm there, Estrella was acting super goofy and just dirt, 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 and being funny and stuff. And she goes, and I quote, "Well, aren't you just a chip off the old half-assed block?" And then she saw me and cut her last word back and changed the subject really fast. But it made me wonder, like, okay, so what does she still have against me? I've gone to great lengths to be a good person, to include her, to change my life, to better myself. I've done far from half-assed things in the past few years. I've worked really hard, got my real estate license, got my whole life together, and improved everything in my life, including gotten rid of toxic people that were hurting me in the end a lot. And I feel triumphant, if nothing else, this year. So why is it that she still has to insult me to my children? It bothers me. And again, you already know, because if you've watched my videos, you know I make it a point not to badmouth her. I'm not here to give people a bad opinion of her. I think she's done a lot of good in the world. I really do. I just think that her personal relationships have suffered the kind of work that she needs to put into them. And the people closest to her hurt the most, and she doesn't even understand that she's hurting us. I think deep down, if she actually knew, if she realized, then she would care. But until then, she's still gonna feel justified in having this like terrible opinion of all of us. And it's just it hurts a lot. And I was talking to my sister about it, and she was kind of under the same opinion, I guess. I just eventually I'm probably going to have to confront my mom about how I feel about this stuff, because I have resentments along the same lines that reach all the way back to childhood. And I think that the only way to fully heal from this stuff, to gouge it out or whatnot, is to have a confrontation about it and talk about it. But I'm not sure I'm ready to do that either. And my sister said it's because I'm really empathetic, and I hate hurting people. I can't stand hurting people's feelings, especially people that I'm really close with. But even strangers, I'm not. It hurts me to see people hurt. And she thinks that even though if the shoe was on the other foot, there would be no hesitation. She thinks that the thought of actually like hurting my mom's feelings deeply affects me in such a way that I can't get past that barrier and talk to her about it. And I think maybe she's right. I know that the thought of her getting her feelings hurt at all growing up literally affected me for months afterwards. It made me feel like trying to go take care of her, and I could never understand why, because at the same time I was angry with her, or I wanted to yell at her or, whatever else, but I still couldn't stand the thought of hurting her feelings. I've never called her out of her name. I never faced her and called her a dirty word or anything like that. I've yelled back at her in a fight, but I have never called her names. And again, it's the same thing. It's because I don't want her to carry that with her later and be like, well, that's what you really think of me, So I don't know. So if anyone has any opinions on this, I know I've, at least from my family's that I'm close with's point of view on this side, they think that eventually I probably need to confront her if I'm ever going to heal. And I don't know, is it better left alone, because she's the type of person that when you confront her, she gets defensive and takes it personally, like really personally. And so I'm just curious as to what's the smartest move on that, So any opinions would be helpful. Anyone who wants to throw in on this one, I could use all the help and support right now, because again, I don't want to sit there and talk bad. I'm not trying to make people feel any sort of way about her. I'm just talking about me. And so if you didn't know her, if she was just, some random lady that's my mom, kind of from that point of view, because again, it's hard with her being a public figure and a inspiration to a lot of people, and that's great. I just kind of need her to be an inspiration to me once in a while, and it doesn't happen, and it hurts, and it makes it really difficult to deal with. Okay, so the other thing is something kind of weird happened last night. It was a interesting experience, and I'm a little bit affected by it, and so I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. I was driving for Lyft. I was actually trying to hit an amount of bonus number so that I could take the long weekend off and do 4th of July with the family and all that stuff, and not have to worry about my income for the week. Okay, I'm sorry about the interruption. I had to change locations because I was taking the opportunity to make a video while the house was quiet. And the second I started making the video, of course, the teenagers started getting up. And all of a sudden, there's pots and pans clanging in the kitchen. And the cat's a little psycho anyways. So she's yowling and making noises. And I was like, oh, okay. So I came upstairs here. And I'm finishing the video where there's a little bit of quiet. So anyways, I met this lady last night, first ride of the night, and I was picking her up from, I'm not going to say names again, I'm keeping her anonymous. It's just that she kind of affected me in this way, and so I wanted to kind of talk about her a little bit, just because things like this kind of open your eyes about your own past and the things that you were doing without even realizing it, and So anyways, I was picking her up, and she was just getting right home, and I asked her, kind of what's your story, because she said, well, I feel like I can detox on my own. I don't need this detox center. But she obviously was struggling. I mean, she asked for me to stop at the store for her to buy cigarettes, and then as I stopped and had to literally half carry her into the store, she buys alcohol and cigarettes. And I was like, well, that's not detoxing. She's like, well, you have to have a little bit to take sips of when you start to struggle. And I was like, well, that's actually kind of understandable. So I'm thinking she's going to use it to actually detox, and then that's not what happened. So, so she basically asks me to just hang out with her for a couple of hours, and she'll pay me the $200 I need so that I'm not missing my work night, but she just needed to not be alone. And I was like a little weirded out at first, because you guys already know how I feel about strangers, and especially with some of the stuff I've gone through, I don't trust a whole lot of people. But she was smaller than me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give her a chance, because she's obviously reaching out, and it covers my night, so I don't have to stress about not making the money that I need to get my part of the bills paid. And so I went to her house, and just kind of let her talk, I guess, for a little while. That was so weird. All the lights just changed. So weird. Okay. So I just kind of let her talk. She wanted to tell stories about her life and who she was and used to be and wanted to be. And I started to realize, after being uncomfortable for the first hour and a half, and really, really on edge, that she was just alone. And again, I'm not going to tell you her personal stories. Her personal stories were heartbreaking, and it's not my place to delve in, to tell those stories. Is obviously stuff that she has not talked about really publicly at all, and so I'm going to respect her for, with that. But it made me start to feel truly, honestly bad for her. And I mean, she had some heartbreaking things to say, things that made her cry, and things that happened to her that were really painful. But I had to tell her, I had to kind of tough love her, and I was like, look, you either get busy living or you get busy dying. You can't just sit around. I mean, the worst of this stuff happened 10 years ago, and you are drinking yourself to death. The doctors told you you're going to die, and you're still doing it. But why? When I was faced with terrible choices, I always tried to make the right one. I chose to put up a fight. I chose to make things better because it was the right thing to do. And then she starts to ask me, why are you doing all this? And I'm like, because it's the right thing to do. She said, you could have left an hour ago. And I said, I know, but it's the right thing to do. And I think that because of how many times she asked me that, how many times I had to answer the question the same way, I think that maybe she really hasn't ever had anyone that just helped her and was there for her because she deserved it, or she needed it, or was the right thing to do. And it really made me take a step back and realize how many people there are out there on the surface. Because on the surface, she had a really good job, but she was suspended from it because of her problems. On the surface, on her Facebook pictures, she's beautiful, well put together, outdoorsy, you know what I mean? And under the surface, there's just all this pain and heartache and this just attitude of completely throwing in the towel. And that's what I think really got to me the most. She asked me about my story, and I told her a little bit, and then she says to me, so we finally make it after several stops, after asking me if she could pee in my car and getting a resounding no on that one. I said, no, you're not going to drink alcohol in my car. No, you're not going to smoke cigarettes in my car. We can pull over, stop here. You can have a cigarette or whatever before you go in, but not in my car. And I had to get her carried into the emergency room. It took me a while to talk her into it, but again, I really didn't think that leaving her there was the right choice. I really think that had I left her alone there, she may have died of alcohol poisoning that night. And I wasn't going to leave her there to be there alone and possibly in a lot of danger. So I sucked it up and tried to do my best to help her, and ended up having to literally physically carry her. I had to get her a backpack packed and her shoes in there because she couldn't get her shoes on. And I genuinely, towards the end of it, I felt a weird kinship with her in a lot of ways. And I felt genuinely like I really cared whether she made it or not. And so I friended her on Facebook, and I told her to message me, and hopefully she does. Let me know if she makes it out of detox and how she's doing. But it just makes you, it makes you really take a step back when your life is going well and it used to go shitty, and you finally get all your shit together. You realize there's so many people out there who are still struggling and need a little help once in a while. And and sometimes you just have to do it even if there's not much in it for you. She tried to give me more money, and I was like, why would I let you give me more money? That's taking advantage of you. I said, it was important to me to not miss the work night because that I set out on a golden night. I have to reach it to be able to, have my plans with my family this weekend. And you offered to do that, and I went over it several times to make sure that you were sure that's what you wanted to do. But I'm not taking more money from you. I'm not taking advantage of you because you're in this terrible state. I'm doing this because I don't want to see you die tonight, And she had a really tough time understanding that. And I literally had to take the money she tried to shove at me and put it back in her wallet because I wasn't taking extra from her. And I don't know. It just hurt a little bit to watch her suffer like that. And I really hope if you're there and if you're watching, I gave her the link to the videos, but if you're there and you're watching, sweetheart, just message me and let me know you're okay when you get out of there, okay? Because I think that there's a lot of people on here who genuinely do care, and they've never met you or seen you or talked to you before, but they genuinely care if you make it out of this alive, and if you get your life together and make it better and go reclaim your job and your life and your health. And all of us here have been through our own struggles, whether it's family members' addiction, our own addiction, abuse, neglect, sadness. We've all been through it, and we're all here kind of as a community banding together to help each other. And I just really hope that you watch my videos and that you join us and you keep in contact with us, and just let me know you're okay. And for all you guys out there who are struggling, who don't want to come forward or are afraid to talk, just please message me. Maybe I can help a little bit. Sometimes it helps just to be able to talk to somebody that doesn't know you personally, because they will not judge you for your story. You can tell them what you have to tell them, how you're feeling, without them looking at you like, oh my God, I've known you for 10 years and I didn't know about this, or, and having that look of judgment pass over them. Sometimes it's all it takes, okay? Sometimes you just need someone to reach out to, and sometimes, for those of us who have gotten through the worst of it, sometimes, like at the beginning of the night, it seems like, okay, this is strange and this is uncomfortable and this is going to be a burden, but it turns into something so much more after you spend some time with a person and realize there's a real beautiful soul under all of that mess, and they're worth saving. And hopefully she thinks she's worth saving now too. I told her a bunch of times maybe a better way to look at things and think about things, and hopefully it will help her through most of it. And I hope for those of you out there who are still struggling, you reach out to me or to someone and just maybe talk it through, okay? All right, I love you all. I just wanted to share that with you guys because I'm still deeply affected by last night. Still a little bit strange. Some of the things that she said and did were, again, something I'm not going to rub all over the internet, but it was a little comical, a little frightening, a little shocking kind of a night, but in the end, at least she ended up somewhere safe, and hopefully, maybe she'll remember me enough to make enough of an impact on her to maybe start making the steps towards putting her life back together again. I really hope so. All right, I love you all. I will talk to you next week. And again, if you guys have anything to interject on either one of these subjects today, I'd really appreciate all the input you got. I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.